Attention passionate Green Bay Packers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Green Bay Packers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Green Bay Packers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Green Bay Packers fans. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, if you've been paying attention to the NFL lately, you've probably heard some whispers, some rumors, and yes, even some reports about the Kansas City Chiefs and their seemingly unstoppable run with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. But what's really interesting is that behind all that success, there's a subtle crack starting to show in their defense, particularly in their secondary. And this could be a game changer for the Green Bay Packers, a team that's been quietly retooling and looking for ways to elevate their roster to compete at the highest level, especially in the playoffs. Let's dive into what's happening with the Chiefs first. According to Diana Rossini, one of the most trusted insiders in the league, the Chiefs currently sit at an impressive 6-1, and on paper they look like a juggernaut. Mahomes is, of course, leading the charge with his usual incredible efficiency, QBR of 93. Just a small dip from his usual standards, but still among the league's elite. However, when you look closer at their defense, specifically the secondary, some vulnerabilities become apparent. The Chiefs are allowing roughly 24 points per game, which isn't terrible but is notably higher than their usual standards. Their secondary in particular seems exposed, and that's a concern considering how dominant they've been overall. Now that's where things get really interesting. There's talk that the Chiefs are considering a major move to address this issue. The rumor mill suggests they're contemplating trading Trent McDuffie, their talented cornerback, to acquire a second-round pick in 2026 and a third-round pick in 2027. Why would they do that? Well, it's all about flexibility and cap management. The Chiefs want to free up around $9 million to bolster their wide receiver core, perhaps to add a target that can help Mahomes in clutch moments or to improve depth for the long haul. It's a calculated risk, but one that could pay dividends if it results in a more balanced defense or a more explosive offense. But what does this mean for the Packers? Well, for starters, the Packers are sitting on about $10 million in cap space, which isn't a lot but enough to make some strategic moves. Their secondary has been a point of concern, especially with Jaire Alexander dealing with knee issues, questionable status at best, and Valentine being exposed and vulnerable against top receivers. The Packers are eager to find a shutdown corner to pair with Xavier McKinney, who's been performing well but needs a top-tier partner to really lock down the opposing passing game in critical moments, especially as they head into the playoffs. And that's where Trent McDuffie enters the picture. He's a player who's been making waves this season with his impressive skill set. For those of you who follow his career, McDuffie has shown incredible coverage ability, with 6 interceptions and 38 pass deflections so far, according to Pro Football Focus, with a stellar grade of 89.5. That's elite. In 2025, he already has 4 interceptions and 17 pass deflections, allowing just 53% of passes into his coverage, an outstanding number. His EPA per target is 44, which tells us he's effectively shutting down plays, and he's successful in jam coverage about 66% of the time. His yards per target are just 3 yards, and he's never faced any serious injuries, which makes him even more attractive for a team looking to boost its secondary for the playoff push. In fact, McDuffie's impact on Kansas City's defense has been profound. Since his arrival, the Chiefs have allowed fewer passing yards, dropping from about 210 yards per game to just 172, and his presence has increased their interceptions, with a 22% rise in turnovers. When you see a player like McDuffie in man coverage, he's not just sticking to receivers but actively forcing punts, increasing the team's overall defensive efficiency. His ability to mirror top receivers and force incompletions makes him a true game changer, akin to some of the best in the league like Jalen Ramsey, who's been a dominant force in recent years. Now, if the Chiefs pull the trigger on this trade, it's not just about losing a talented cornerback, it's about reallocating resources strategically. By trading McDuffie, they'd free up around $9 million in cap space, which they could then invest elsewhere, maybe in adding more depth to their defense or enhancing their receiving options. But some analysts see this as a luxury move for the Chiefs, considering their current odds of winning the Super Bowl are around plus 600, and Mahomes remains one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the league. They see it as a strategic gamble, similar to what the Colts did last year by making bold trades to push for a championship. For the Green Bay Packers, this potential trade is a golden opportunity. If McDuffie becomes available, it could be a game changer for the Packers' secondary, which has been a bit of a work in progress this season. They're looking for a player who can truly shut down top receivers, and McDuffie fits that profile perfectly. Pairing him with Xavier McKinney could transform their defense into a real force, one capable of causing turnovers, forcing punts, and turning games in their favor during the playoff run. Remember, a strong secondary is often what separates good teams from great ones, especially when facing high-powered offenses in January. Let's talk a little more about the impact McDuffie has had on Kansas City. Since he became a starter, the Chiefs' defense has seen a significant boost. His ability to cover man-to-man is elite, with a coverage grade of 82%, mirroring the kind of shutdown corner that teams dream of having. His forced incompletions rate is around 14%, which is excellent, and he's often tasked with following the opponent's best receiver. His presence on the field not only reduces the amount of yards the opposing team can accumulate, but also increases the turnovers, which are crucial in close playoff games. His overall contribution elevates the entire defense, making Kansas City's secondary more reliable and less exposed. But the story gets even more compelling when you consider the broader implications. The Chiefs, after all, are still viewed as Super Bowl contenders, but their window could be slightly less open if their secondary continues to leak yardage and allow big plays. Making a bold move to acquire a player like McDuffie, or even trading him if the right deal comes along, is a strategic decision that could define their season. It's about balancing the present with the future, investing in the talent that can make the difference now while also setting up for long-term success. Meanwhile, for the Packers, this potential acquisition fits perfectly into their current rebuild. They're not just looking for a stopgap. They want a player who can be a cornerstone of their defense for years to come. Xavier McKinney has been solid, but he needs a true lockdown partner, and McDuffie's skill set matches what the Packers are striving for. They want to become a team that's tough to pass against, one that can clinch playoff games with their secondary leading the way. That's the kind of identity they're building, one rooted in tough, physical coverage, forcing turnovers, and creating chaos for opposing quarterbacks. Now, if we think about the bigger picture, this potential move could elevate the Packers from a decent team to a formidable force in the NFC. Their defense, which has been a bit inconsistent this season, could see a spark that pushes them into the elite category. Their chances of making a deep playoff run could skyrocket if they acquire a player like McDuffie, who can reliably shut down top receivers and force turnovers in critical moments. Plus, considering the division rivals, like the Detroit Lions and Minnesota Vikings, are also improving, having a shutdown corner becomes even more vital. Let's not forget that the Packers have a rich history of developing and cultivating defensive stars, from Charles Woodson to others who have left a lasting legacy in Green Bay. McDuffie, with his all-pro potential and ability to mirror great receivers, could be the next name etched into that proud tradition. His skill set is comparable to some of the best coverage players in the league, and his presence could be a catalyst for a renewed defensive identity. And just imagine the impact on the locker room. A player like McDuffie, with his confidence and proven success, can elevate the mindset of the entire team. Young players would see what it takes to be an elite corner, and veterans would be inspired to raise their level of play. The Packers are in a position where they can make a bold statement, showing their commitment to winning and building a championship-caliber roster. In conclusion, folks, what's happening right now in the NFL, especially with the Chiefs and Packers, highlights how dynamic and strategic this league is. A potential trade involving Trent McDuffie could be one of those moves that shifts the balance of power, not just in the AFC, but across the entire league. For the Packers, it's an exciting opportunity, one that could transform their defense and set them up for a deep playoff run. They're on the cusp of something special, and adding a player like McDuffie might just be the missing piece to take their defense from good to legendary. So stay tuned, keep your eyes on this story because it's developing fast, and this could be the move that defines the Packers' season and beyond. And now, Green Bay Packers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to US and TO, the Green Bay Packers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Green Bay Packers news.